All right, Aaron Gaunt, welcome to the show, my friend. Happy to have you on here.
What's up, Greg? Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, dude. Well, I'm looking forward to jumping into your story today. When did you start the business? Like 2020, 2019? I think you haven't been for too long, right?
Yeah, so we've been doing this for about 3 years. This will be our full end. When this year ends, we've done it for 3 years.
That's amazing, man. You've made a lot of progress in, your 3 years in this business. You guys have built a magnificent company. It's Seller's New Day out of Temecula, California, right?
Seller's New Day right now. Yeah, that's on our seller side. We have a kind of investment side where we sell our deals because we made our first company name was Backdraft. So a lot of our investors knew by that. So that's why when we blast out our deals, it's coming from Backdraft. Backdraft comes from a cool name when I was in the fire department prior. I needed a quick LLC and I decided to call it that.
Backdraft. I love it. Yeah, no, that's awesome, dude. And I like how you kind of segmented it. I thought about doing that one time where you have the seller marketing, Seller's New Day. That's a great name. And then on the investment end, it's a completely different department, which I don't know a lot of people doing that. That's pretty cool. So when did you guys change your name to Seller's New Day for the seller marketing?
No, that's a great question. So we actually changed it to Seller's New Day because I wanted a name. Well, we really went heavy. And this was earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Really went heavy in Google ads, Facebook ads,
Oh,
just that
smart
online
man.
marketing, right? So I
Smart
wanted,
man.
and we were getting a lot of calls asking if we did construction. So with Backdraft, we thought we did construction. So what I wanted to do is that when a seller typed in, I need to sell my house fast, I need to sell my house for whatever reason, and obviously you see all the companies that are there,
Yeah.
Seller's New Day, right away. They're like, I'm a seller, right? Let me look into this website. And then that new day part was just basically, that they see they see the end result, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted the name to kind of explain what we did.
Dude, that's amazing. And I was on your website and I saw some great testimonials on your website. Did a little homework on you before we did the
We're
show
working on
here.
that.
Yeah, dude. No, it's great. And I like the market message, especially with, our industry. It's like fast cash offer, quick close deals. It's like,
Right.
my company is Velocity House Buyers. It's like,
There you go.
buy your house in 7 days or whatever. But Seller's New Day is a good one, man. So we'll unpack your business in a minute here. But what on earth were you doing before you had a massive, successful real estate company?
No, that's a great question. So I was serving the armed services, the Navy for 8 years, got out, was a fireman for a couple. And what I love about how I got into this business is that there was a huge why behind it. Now we all have our whys, whether it be money, freedom, whatever that might be. Now my why was my daughter. So what happened was I was in the fire department. I met this individual. Long story short, I knocked her up. Now our relationship wasn't that long. Found out that there was some things going on, that little screw loose on the other end of this relationship, and she decided to flee the state, try to say that I wasn't going to be in the file. She was trying to put her up for adoption,
Oh my God, dude.
all this other stuff, right? So, and I could go on for days about this. And anyways, I was at the fire department. I realized I needed the money. I needed to hire an attorney. At the fire department, that at that time I was getting paid about 80, 100 grand a year, nothing too crazy. And I got an attorney. I realized this is going to be a lot of money, right? And I kept thinking, okay, how can I make more money? How can I make more money? And right, isn't that the number one question we all got to ask ourselves if we want to be or do something successful? And that kind of gets that brain going, right? So what I did is there was a book I read back in the Navy. We used to pass around books when we were on deployment, and it was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Shocker.
At that time, I didn't take any action. I was too busy partying and, just doing my own thing on my own world. Wasn't thinking about really bettering myself or building my wealth at that time. So anyways, my why became big, and I looked back and I thought, hey, I need to go read that book again. I read that book and I said, okay, real estate's where it's at. How can I start making a lot of money in real estate? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
No
I need money. Do I need money to get in real estate? So I typed in Google how to get into real estate with no money. Wholesaling
I know
came
what's
up.
coming next.
Wholesaling real estate came up, and I said, what the heck, wholesaling real estate? And so I went to go and I was like, well, I need a coach. I don't even know why I thought about that, but I was like, I need a coach. Somebody to teach me this real quick. I found Wholesaling Inc., got into Wholesaling Inc.'s program. Actually, before I even got into that, they said it was going to be a $5,000. I'm very transparent. They said it was going to be $5,000 to join the program.
Yeah.
I said,
Was
I
Tom
want
Kroll at the time? A good friend of
to.
mine.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh
Tom
yeah,
Crow.
buddy of mine. Yeah, he's a
Love
good guy.
that. Love that guy. He was teaching at that time.
Yeah.
Still, he was still teaching it. So it was Cody Hoffine and Tom Kroll. They were doing their weekly calls and stuff. So, and again, the misconception of no money. Obviously, there is money that you still need to put up. But what did I do? I'll tell people to do this all day. I
Yeah.
put it on a credit card.
I've done that.
I put that coaching program on a credit card. Remember, I'm already in debt to my attorney. But I knew it was an investment, and I was dating my wife at the time, and I roll over. I was at the fire department, so I had a couple of days off. I roll over to her job in town, and I say, "Hey, I got this thing. I've been doing all my research." Because at first I wanted to see if Wholesale Inc. was even a scam, right? I was looking, and then they had all the good reviews, and I said, "Perfect. I'm gonna pull the trigger on this." So I went in, I bought the program, did the action steps, and 2 months later, I made $19,000. That was my first deal. It was through a direct mail lead. It was actually through a real estate agent that called, et cetera. It was probably my hardest deal I've ever done, but it was grit, that determination for me to get through it. And that $19,000 hit my bank account, and I was able to pay my attorney her first big paycheck. So that's kind of how that started.
Shit, dude. That's crazy, bro. Well, that's an incredible why. I understand, obviously the motivation there. And then you go link up with good old Tom Kroll, who's just a fantastic guy. He's got a phenomenal reputation. And it's almost ironic because you were doing your research on coaching companies like sellers do their research on you guys before they want to do business. They see testimonials, they see the website, they see the social proof. It's funny how it comes full circle. And you went out there, you did a $19,000 wholesale deal, which is really good for your first deal, even in Southern California, because a lot of new wholesalers who don't know what they're doing, I think Tom Kroll has coined this, called cash buyer employees. They go out there and they just
Yep.
they're like Mother Teresa, and they just give these houses away for 5 or 10 grand. You made 20 grand basically, which is awesome. So let's walk through that deal real quick, if you don't mind, and then we'll break into your business and what you're doing today, because you guys have really grown a lot, and I've seen it from the sidelines, and it's impressive. So what was the backstory? They came in through mail. It was a real estate agent. Like what made it a deal, and how'd you end up, getting the contract and then selling that thing for a good profit?
Yeah. So, I mean, to get the deal the first place, right? So I sent out direct mail still on a credit card.
Yeah.
And
You
again,
sound like me, bro.
that was
When
money
I
on
started.
marketing.
Yeah.
That was money on marketing. And it was funny at the fire department. I would run into the back. Because there's a lot that goes into this. I would go into the back, get on my calls. I got called to the chief's office probably a couple of times saying like, "Hey, you can't work on your business here." I got the department Wi-Fi to bring up my truck close to the department to start cold calling in the back on my off hours. Like I was doing everything I could to get these deals. Now, what that first deal was agent. The agent calls in from my postcard, says, "Hey, I got this property. You send it to my client. Hey, X, Y, and Z. Here's the price. Boom, boom, boom. We put it." And again, I didn't know how I was going to do this, but I said, "Perfect, sounds good." And we end up having to double close this deal. I went there, and Tom Kroll, you remember he talks about like feeding frenzies and stuff like that. You had to build up your buyers list first. So I think I had like 75 buyers that I called around. So none of my buyers on my list wanted to. So anyway, with the agent, get the contract and everything. I think I put $500 down for earnest money. And he thought, honestly, I wasn't transparent with the agent at that time, but he turned out to be really cool and a good friend of mine today. Because in the long run, he could have done this so much easier without me. But anyways, I get the contract, and he sees me trying to bring these buyers to the house and have these like open day inspections, and he was really cool about it. Thank God. But I remember him up and down the price, buyers saying, "Why it's on the market?" It was super stressful.
Was it listed to the property?
He had it like on Zillow. I think he did like he started listing it. So it was just like, I was like, "Why are you doing this?" Even though it was like his client.
Yeah.
And and so we ended up I thought at that time, we do a lot of MLS deals right now as well. And we do not double close. We do assign them.
You lock up a deal on the MLS and assign it on the MLS?
Now we do, yes.
That's awesome.
So anyway. And we could talk about that later. But so what happened is it was a pretty stressful. So we ended up going to double close. I had to find a double close company to do, because I think we actually made more, but we had to give a lot of that chunk to what would you call it? Transactional funding company, where you pay like 2% or whatever to them to kind of close on it, give it to the buyer.
Man.
And then it was funny. The agent the agent actually brought the buyer to the table and said, here you go. You could have this buyer. She's interested, et cetera. I said, perfect.
Awesome. Yeah,
And
if you
so,
knew me, you could have called me. I would have transactional funded that thing easily. I love doing those things. I've done them before for people. It's fun.
man, I didn't know anybody. When you're first starting out, you don't
Yeah,
know
I know.
anything. You don't know anybody. You don't know.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. And actually, I was just talking to my wife this morning. It's like I really want to get involved in the community because this community is so small, dude.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's how we did first deal. Got 19 grand. A little while later, I had to get like an LLC to do the double close, so I didn't get taxed so much. Like it was all kinds of stuff. And anyways, that was my first deal. And
bro,
we've
that
done
is
several
wild.
since.
No, that's crazy. I'm just thinking about like, my first deal, it was super simple. Yours was very complicated. Double closing in California, out of all places, with all the bullshit that goes on in that state. Don't even get me started there. Man, that's crazy. You got that done, and obviously, you've grown a lot since. And I like to always talk about, especially people that started, 5 years ago or less. How'd they get their first deal, right? Because the concepts don't really change. Yeah, marketing changes here and there, but at the end of the day, like Tom Kroll says, if you're out there and Brent Daniels getting discounted sellers to call you every day and you stack those wins up, it's a math equation. Like you're going to get deals. If you make enough offers, you're going to get deals. A lot of new people, they're scared to do the work that's actually meaningful, AKA talk to people and make offers. And they, mentally masturbate and make business cards and do all these things that don't move the needle. Yeah. And it's just like, bro, like you got to do the shit because you do the stuff that's uncomfortable and then eventually it becomes comfortable. And then all of a sudden you start getting more deals. So anyway,
Exactly.
Rant overs.
What they say when a deal comes super easy in the very first, your first deal and it's super easy, they think that that's how it's going to be for the rest of their time in their career. And I've heard that those are the people that quit the fastest. Those are the people that decide not to continue in real estate because real estate, as we both know, is difficult, but super rewarding. Right now, when it came to me and that deal being super hard, everything else after became very easy. And what I meant, and when you put your systems and processes in place, once you start to really build that out and you have a flow of things, which is going to take you a while, but I always tell people, if you want to really get somewhere in this business, you need to document everything. And, I'll see my revenue, when I first started, my revenue would go a little down because I'd be so focused on systems and processes, making sure that we had a flow to things. And then when I got back into the sales seat, right, you start seeing go back up. And then I needed to start recording some more videos, documenting more stuff, and then go back down. It's, because that's where your focus would be. But back in the day, as you could tell, when my first deal was so difficult, it's because I didn't have any system and process. I didn't know the flow of things. But what comes action becomes knowledge, right?
Totally, bro. Totally. And then when, I'm actually glad you mentioned that too, because a lot of people think that if they're working on their business, not in their business, it's like the wrong thing, right? But it's really not. If you can develop a system, I was actually just doing this today. We're hiring another team member and I was designing the systems for her, like just basically doing what we already do and recording it. And like, I try to get that stuff done before business hours, even though I'm not like buying houses anymore, really. I have an acquisitions guy, but that's some of the most meaningful work because that's an asset now in your company that is documented and it's there. And then if it ever needs to get improved, I'll actually have the team member make the new and improved video because they can probably do it better than me, because they're doing
100%,
it, But that's an exciting way to start, man, especially, being a success story of coaching programs. Because a lot of people bash, like I did a guru program. It was $2,000. I had $2,000 in the bank. I split it with a friend. So it was 1,000 each.
Oh, wow.
We were success stories. You were a success story. So like, it's not the system that's broken. It's a lot of people go in there. They don't do the damn work. And then they blame the coach. It's like, no, the coach did the right thing. You did the wrong thing. And you got to take some self-accountability because if you do the system, it's obviously working for hundreds of people, thousands of people. Anyway, I digress.
When it comes to the coaching programs, and I've done a crap ton of them. I'm also on masterminds. I spend a crap ton of money on masterminds. People always said, hey, when are you going to get in coaching? When are you getting coaching? Now, obviously, I've only done this 3 years. I don't even feel like I would be worthy of it, right? My ultimate goal is to make sure that this business is making multi-millions first, right? Now, we are in the 7 figures, which is beautiful, and I'm glad we are, but I want to keep going on it before I even coach somebody. And on top of that, it's just what you just said. I mean, I don't know if I have the patience for people just to kind of quit right away, right? And so I have a good buddy of mine. I always push him. He does a coaching program, and obviously it's very lucrative, 110%, but I always push it to him. And I think that maybe after 5 years, I might do something and really, because I mean, we, as you can see, we are building a social media presence, starting to build that podcast ourselves, and really trying to build, add a lot of value for free right now, just like you're doing right now. But yeah,
it's a whole nother beast, man. Yeah, I do a little bit of it. I've done like courses and I've sold like paid webinars, and that's lucrative. Okay. I've done that. I still do it. You know, we're building that arm out in our little, I don't even call it a business yet. It's like our little project we're working on that's starting to make money. But when you, the big thing that I've realized with any time you're charging for knowledge, whether that's coaching or a course or a webinar, I call it the guy I hired is like, dude, it's not a webinar, it's a masterclass. So it's a masterclass. Anyway, I did one over the summer on direct mail.
Yeah.
I was so scared because I'm like the kind of guy where if I'm going to charge even 600, I charge, I think $600 for it or something, super cheap.
Nice.
And I'm like, I want to make sure that the amount of value they're going to get in this 2-hour training that's going to be recorded and systematized is 25 times more valuable than the $600 fee I charge. And I was on that call for like 2.5, 3 hours, every question, everything, like, and it's just like when you have that purpose, and I can tell you have that, once you get into that education arm, dude, it's going to be a stratosphere success because you actually care.
Right.
And you attract the right people, and you kind of get the wrong people to like almost not want to do it. And it's like this whole thing. So we're just kind of getting started with that. Yeah. And
you're absolutely right. It's that, and that's what I've gotten told too, is that the people that do pay for it, right? Because they obviously put in their time and effort, you know, they're gonna make sure, and they're gonna pay attention, right?
Yes.
I would even say, so one of my old buddies, and I think we did that. I'll be honest, we've done it like once or twice where we have done webinars and we charged money for it. And I think it was like $100, right? And my guy was like, "Man, you're charging way too small for that, right?"
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I would even say like $600 was way too small. And I've done some one-on-ones too. We'll have like a link tree, and if you want to,
yes, I do that too.
There you go. Yeah, and then I've done some one-on-ones where you come in and but right now I don't have time for that. My time is
it's not worth it.
So damn busy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool to see, like, you know, whenever you had your first job when you're in high school, you're making $15 an hour, and now you can charge a couple hundred or 1,000 or whatever it is. And you could just see, like, you know, Jim Rohn says, when you become more valuable, like your income is direct proportion to your value to the marketplace, whatever he says.
Right.
And if you can do that, like, it's crazy to see, like, you know, 5 years later, it's like, oh shit, I can charge this an hour. And it's just weird. But it helps people. Like, I paid a guy, I'll never forget this. I paid a direct mail expert $500 for an hour. I got on a Zoom with him. Super freaking, I'm like a laser focus, like a machine on the Zoom call, writing notes, taking all the instruction down. I go out, I execute his plan. It's made me a shitload of money, just like his
there you
system.
go.
And it's like, I'm glad I paid for that, because if I took it for free, maybe I wouldn't implement it or whatever. So when 100%. You pay, you certainly pay attention. So let's jump into your business, man, because that's obviously where you're spending the majority of your time now. So let's talk about Seller's New Day from a high level. We'll start at the top. What does your operation look like in terms of your team, and then like the deal, I guess, mix up? I don't know what exit strategies you're doing. And then we'll start to break it down into individual compartments.
Yeah, man. We're lean and mean right now. Earlier in the year, I had about 4 acquisition people, but we're not even at that. When the market changed, I decided to make some big changes. So at the moment right now, it's myself, my wife. We have a fulfillment department, we have a sales department, and we kind of have a virtual side. So on our fulfillment department, we have our transactional coordinator, Victoria. She's fantastic. We have Alex Bradley, who he's our investor sales rep, dispositions manager. We have a VA that helps them call. We have two VAs that are helping call buyers. So that's kind of our fulfillment department. We have a virtual administrative assistant. So she does a lot of the things on the back end. We have a agent relations salesperson right now. So he's actually in the other room right now talking to agents. We're going to probably put 2 more people in that position. So we wanted 3 people all together talking to real estate agents. We have myself right now. I'm actually back in acquisitions seat at the moment. Which was a huge good thing when we saw that market shift. And I mean, I'm just locking up crap ton of contracts right now. And I have a lead manager that goes into my CRM. We have a dialer built into the CRM that just kind of calls all the leads that are not answering, unresponsive stuff. So just kind of waking those leads back up and then pitching them to me, so I could lock them up. So it's lean and mean right now.
Dude, you got a similar business that me. It's lean and mean team. That's what people like don't talk about. Everyone's like, I want 95 salespeople. It's like when you can have a lean, mean, efficient team, not only are you more profitable and your team makes way more money because you got more to share, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like a little family, like I have a small team. The people on my team make a shitload of money and everyone gels together well. We got the Slack channel, we got our daily huddles, and it's like, and we're virtual. Like I live in
Right.
San Diego. She lives in LA. My guy lives in Delaware. We got another person coming out in North Carolina, so it's the small team. People really got to look more into that because you can get a lot done with a relatively small team if you have the right people on board. And I see so many people preaching like these like 40, 50 people operations, which can work, but that's a whole nother beast. You're in a legit management position at that point. You got departments and it can get dangerous, honestly. You could really run yourself into the ground if you don't do that the right way. I like what you got going on, man. That's great. So we got the high level stuff now. Now this is really, I was looking forward to this interview. So you're in Southern California. Okay. I live there some of the year. Everyone bitches about that market. I've done deals there, buying a house there tomorrow. Everyone's like, oh my God, Southern California, it's impossible to do business there. And it's like, well, it's hard. It's not easy, but it's not it's like the same as like Texas. I've done business in Texas, New York, New Jersey, you fucking name it.
Nice.
I've done business in most of those states. I got to say, Southern California, the only problem I see there that is really an opportunity is the sellers are just aware that their properties are generally expensive and they're not as desperate, which is a good thing a lot of the times. But I've also found that on that same note, when you have a quote unquote motivated seller in California, at least from my experience, they're usually, if they're going to sell at a discount, they're a lot more like understanding and reasonable. They don't really care that you're wholesaling it. Like I've just found that when you have the right seller in Southern California, even though they know their property's worth $700,000-800,000, the deals are a little bit like smoother, at least from my experience. Like I've noticed in some of these other areas where you're dealing with really cheap properties and people who really don't know what's going on, you have a lot more title issues. You have just a lot of garbage. People are it's just a total mess, right? And we try to segment that. So what has your experience been operating in Southern California primarily before you started to also open up some different markets?
Man, I'm glad you asked that because Southern California really hits home with me.
Yeah, you're from there. Yeah, you're a California guy,
Yeah. Well, that's where we started too. We started in our backyard, and a lot of people don't start in their backyard. We've been hearing a lot of preaching about virtual, especially here in Southern California. Oh, Southern California is super hard, so I went virtual.
So hard there.
When I used to hear that, I said, "Thank you. Leave the deals here for us." Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, we pull some rippers, right? So as we talked before this show, we have opened up to other states where the houses are a little bit more cheaper. And I'll be honest, our average deal size here in Southern California was between $50,000 to $40,000, right? That's average. Amazing, bro. Now, our average deal size in these other states, Texas, because that's where we're really hitting hard, all of Texas, is about 10 to 15, right? So that's going to be our average in those states. Now, I'll be honest, we've been getting a lot more contracts, right? That's kind of the thing that everybody preaches, and I've lived it, is contracts are a little more far in between. And I'm talking about like a week, right? Like a week, 2 weeks. If you're on your game and you're actually doing stuff every single day.
Yeah.
But your contracts are going to be a lot larger here in Southern California than they are in other states. Now, one thing that I want to really touch on by you bringing this up is I was really going in the mindset of going deeper, not wider. And what I mean by that is really going deeper in our own market here in Southern California and not worrying about going in to other states.
Yeah.
Well, we had a market correction this past year, and Southern California, Phoenix, right? The West Coast, these high-end markets got hit so hard,
bro. Ask me how I know.
So we felt it just like anybody else, and I decided, and because properties that are in $200,000 range, right, $250,000 range, are still flying off the shelf. So I knew, and then I found this out through my mastermind, people are still doing deals in those markets. So I said, hey, we need to go into those markets to keep our machine going, right? Yep. We need properties going through the system. We need properties going through our team, right? So I said, okay, perfect. It is the time to now go wider.
Yeah, dude, that's such a good, and the fact that you guys are buying houses over the phone in California to begin with just made the process to go to Texas a lot easier, I bet, because you're already doing the same thing. You're just replacing the address and the zip code and the time zone.
Yeah. No, yeah, you hit it on the head there. There's a huge debate in my own mastermind about, going belly to belly, or over the phone sales, right? And when I first got into this business, I think that you should go belly to belly, like in the first year, get to know what that's like.
Yep.
You could get get to touch the property, get to touch the asset a little bit, get to actually have a good relationship or have a good conversation with the homeowner. You know what I mean? And I mean, you can't get more uncomfortable than that, right? On the phone, you could hang up if you didn't like the conversation or you got super scared. I don't know, right? But
Yeah,
when
I
you
know.
actually have to go to the house, knock on the door, walk through the property, get to know their family, um, there's nothing like it. And I did that for probably the first year and a half. And I got contracts. I didn't get contracts. But then I decided, I don't want to drive around anymore. And
Especially in Southern Cal with all the traffic. If you're going to LA, San Diego, Inland Empire, dude, that's a disaster to drive around. Oh, couldn't imagine.
No, it was an hour there, hour back. And if I didn't get the
Yeah.
contract, and so the only time I now go to a property, to be honest with you, is if I have all the things, and that is make sure the purchase price is already agreed upon, the motivation is there, that they're going to sign the contract. And I asked them, I was like, "Are we going to sign the contract when we're there?" And again, we call it agreement. Are all decision makers basically there, right? So then I'll go, and because there are some people that are just so adamant, like, I'm not going to sign it unless I'm there. Now, I haven't been to a property in a good while, and we are just locking contracts like crazy up over the phone. And you're right, we were locking them up here in Southern California. And I always say too, and here's a little gold nugget: if somebody's very adamant that you must go see the property, just ask them. Give me a couple days, give me a couple inspection days. But I want to make sure I don't waste my time by going to your house and wasting your time. And then you just tell them, story, hey, I've dealt this in the past. My whole day is wasted if I go to your property and, we don't get a deal done, et cetera. Right now, there's people that say, hey, if there's motivation, go to the property, go on these appointments. Absolutely. If that's your business model, fantastic. But I've seen in my personal experience and other buddies, you're getting way more contracts over the phone.
The phone is the way to go, bro. I had the same thing with you, bro. I personally hate going to appointments just because I don't like dealing with those houses and they're nasty. And then I got nice clothes on and shit. I got a nice car. I don't want them seeing in my car, So I've just realized, like, we can do this whole thing over the phone. And even if the conversion rate is a little bit lower because of the phone, which is probably true, I'm going to ultimately get more deals because I can make more offers and I can solve more problems at scale, and I can have my team do the same thing. And now I'm not geographically, log jammed with, oh, I need an acquisitions guy here. Well, what if the guys here suck or girls here suck, and I can get somebody in another state who's willing to do it over the phone? Once we broke that belief of you could do business over the telephone, and actually, ironically, it started in Texas like years ago. I did my first virtual deal. I never went to the property, saw it. I just got a wire for the assignment fee. And I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. I'm like, there's no way I'm not doing this anymore. And then since then, it's just, I have gone on appointments from time to time, like that wholesale deal from the wholesaler. I went there to walk it to make sure he wasn't selling me a dog, but that was me as the buyer, not me as the guy trying to get the deal from the seller.
Right. Yeah, a lot of the buyers are still they're walking the properties, right? But I mean, if you're just wholesaling the property, you're just getting it at a discount. You're doing your job. Your job is sales and marketing.
Yes, dude, it's so true. I've always found we actually send buyers to I do. We send the buyers there with the seller in the house, and we just tell the buyers, listen, if you're gonna dick us on a deal, maybe you'll get this one, probably not. But just know, you're never you're gonna be toasted after that. And we've had a really solid track record of not getting screwed out of deals because people know, if you could pull a shady one on maybe a one-off deal, but that's not going to be a forever thing. And when you can just take your time and spend it in a scenario where you're on the phone making offers and doing the activities that matter, it is so much easier to just be productive versus getting in the car, driving there. Seller goes to you, oh, I got a doctor's appointment. And you're like, oh my God, I just drove an hour here and they abandoned me. And now I could have made 7 offers in that last hour. It's just, I love how you guys are doing that. And it's cool to see how you started to branch out into other markets. And like you said, you made a good point. Yeah, in Texas, you're probably not going to hit 6-figure wholesale deals all day. But if you can bang out 2 or 3 or 4 deals a week and you can make 15 grand, that's revenue coming in. And then anything in Southern California is like icing on the cake. You get 3 deals a month.
What I've noticed too is, we might have had some good, rippers in the months, right, from our Southern California deals. But what you also got to keep in mind is your culture, right? One thing we're going to really focus on next year is culture in the company. But by just getting, to be honest, like just between you and I, by getting properties through your system for your fulfillment side, your dispo TC, your sales guys, it's just going to keep that motivation high, right? Instead of having those far in between big deals, which are always great and very profitable, and they're going to come, but let's just get properties in the
That
pipe.
momentum, bro. It's the process, dude. It's like Nick Saban says, you got to go through the process. And if you got 3 or 4 deals a month, they go through the process in Cal, but then you can get 7 extra ones in Texas. Everyone's going to do better. You get better, you get more experience, you have more problems you can solve. I totally agree with you, bro.
The morale's going to be up
with technology. Yeah, with tech. I tell this to people all the time, like, because I'm a New York guy. New York is probably the hardest place to operate in, just from the attorney standpoint. I'm sure guys in
right
can attest to that, And, people in my market are always like, well, Greg, I mean, I feel like I have to do this in New York. And I'm like, well, you can, and you got a guy you can do deals with, but you can do this in Ohio with, like, when I got started in 2015, dude, it was like another planet compared to where it is now. That's 7 years later, bro. It was another planet. DocuSign wasn't that big. Buying over the phone was not there. Like, it was a completely different era of real estate investing. And now 7 years later, it's like, if you're not buying over the phone, you're kind of like the odd man out now, which is kind of weird. Because I wasn't raised that way, and now it's like, if you're not buying over the phone, you're, unless you're like some operator in like a really small market. There's a couple guys in CG that are like that I won't name.
Are you in CG?
I'm not, but I know a bunch. There's one of my best friends, Jeremiah. Yeah, Eric.
Gotcha,
I'll just say Eric Brewer. He's in like York, Pennsylvania.
There you go.
He's an absolute savage. He's actually coming on the podcast in a couple weeks, and he's in a small market, Pennsylvania.
Crushing it.
He's crushing it. He's going on appointments, right? And that's
he's the one who's talking. He's always preaching the belly to belly. Yes. Absolutely, yeah.
His market, I 100% agree with him there, and he does buy houses over the phone. If you called him today, he would say that too. But they generally go for the belly to belly because their market's a little different, small town, whatever.
Right.
It works for
him.
15
minutes to drive there.
Yeah. Yeah. But in Riverside County, I mean, you're 2 hours there and back.
100%.
I'm not a fan of that. Anyway, so I digress, man. So, are you guys wholesaling everything? Or are you guys taking things down? Like, what does your exit strategy look like with your business today?
Great question, man. When I first got into this game, I read the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Love that book, bro. Great book.
You got to focus on one thing that's going to make you rich, right? And and that's kind of what was my strategy was. It was, let me perfect this wholesaling game to and just make a crap ton of money, and that's because that's what we see, right? A lot of people, there's so many ways you can make money in real estate. And so, and then they get scatterbrained and they want to do these 10 things and they go nowhere. Or they might dab on a little bit extra, right? So anyways, we decided to focus on one thing, and that was wholesaling. Now we are branching out a little bit on other things, creative, rentals, blah, blah, right? Well, when I usually present to a seller, we give them options now, right? We do a wholesale, we do novations, or we list the property. And the very last one is a creative option. So we give them all that, and we basically say, hey, what do you think would be the best fit for you? And then they'll tell us, and then we'll kind of go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, it's smart, especially now in the changing market. We actually, ironically, just got a subject to deal in Houston locked up that I'm going to keep as a rental.
Oh, nice.
And it's like a nice house in a good area. And Brett, my acquisitions guy, he took the deal to basically the offer accepted, and then I stepped in to go over the logistics. And I'm looking at this deal, and I'm like, the guy's got no equity. It's going to cash flow like $100 a month. I'm probably coming out of pocket $6,000 max, maybe $7,000. I get I can cost seg the whole thing. It'll make a cash flow. And I got an asset that doesn't have my name on the debt. I'm like, dude, this is a home run. I'll do this all the time, But I like what you said, though. It's like, if we do focus on, cash offers. And if the cash offers don't work, then we obviously pivot and we try to see how else we can help them. But when you're brand new, this is $1 million advice for listeners. If you're trying to do lease options and wholesaling and rehabbing and novations all at the same time, you're toast. Just stop now, because it's not going to work.
I mean, think about how simple the wholesaling model is, right?
So
but then if you want to really make a crap ton of money, it does get a little complex when you start bringing in your processes, your teams, your people strategies. I mean, there goes so much into it. It's not just a simple assignment. There's so much that you got to build. You got to build a good foundation, and then you got to build a good culture. You got to build good systems. And what I mean by that, like online systems, right? We have a list, we have a spreadsheet of like all the websites, all the subscriptions that we got to pay to really keep marketing, right?
Yeah.
You got to understand marketing really well. You got to understand Google ads really well. You got to understand your sellers. You got to understand your sales process. I mean, it goes really into it. And if you focus on wholesaling and then really figuring all that wholesaling out and building a company, I mean, that's why. That's
how you take off. Yeah. And you just
exactly.
keep the exit strategy simple and build the systems from there. And that's how you grow, man. That's how you've obviously grown over the last 3 years, which is amazing. So let's talk a little bit about marketing, and then we'll talk about dispositions, and then we'll wrap the show up. So you mentioned the G word, which is one of my favorite words in the word book, Google ads. And I do a lot of SEO as well. So I think you guys were I did some research on you. Like I said, you guys were doing a lot of like telemarketing for a while, and then you decided to join the dark web and get on Google and start getting some smoking leads.
100%. I wish we did it a lot sooner. So one
Same
thing
here,
we
bro.
did, and it was, again, the market correction is what got us, because then we started focusing more on inbound leads. So before Google ads, we were doing a lot, SMS. I think we were sending out like 30,000 text messages a day. Direct. We sent out a good amount of direct mail. We had like 10 to 15 cold callers, and at one point, and let's just be honest, most of those leads are garbage. Anyway, so when we felt that market correction, I wanted to really focus on leaning the team out and also focus on inbound leads. Right. So I hit up our guy, Bateman Collective. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
And so we're using them now. And right off the bat, I think it was like, we ran our ads for the first like 2-3 days, got a 40K deal. It was great. We want to see more of those. But the deals, obviously the leads to contracts have been so much more smaller. The conversations are less stressful. And again, what I mean by that is, even if the deal doesn't work, your conversations are going to be so much more better because they actually want to sell, right? They're not saying, hey, just give me an offer. You reached out to me, right? Now you could almost say it the backwards. Well, you reached out to me. Let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So we're spending about 15 grand right now on Google ads. We want to see that up to possibly 30 here in a couple of months. So, and then, because right now I'm the only one taking these leads in, and we're focused heavily on pre-foreclosure. I have a VA that we're kind of just focused on, and we're still texting and calling and sending direct mail to pre-foreclosure, because those are going to be your highest priority.
Oh yeah.
And PPC and MLS. So those are our marketing strategies right now.
Yeah, dude. PPC I got turned on to this year, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't been doing this. It's insane. With the motivation level is like, I mean, we've been getting web leads on SEO forever, but like that's not as controllable, because they're it's like, or Google can kind of take you off and on, but Google ads, you're buying the traffic. And I'm like, I started looking at the deals, and like we're like 1 out of 9 leads we're getting a contract on, and I'm like,
nice,
this is insane. And then with SEO, it's even less, but you get less leads. Dude, I'm just gonna say this on the record. I don't care. I mean, it's a little bit of a secret now, but I'll just say it, right? There's a company you got to look into, Aaron. They're called propertyleads.com. All right. And what they do is they have massive SEO presence. They generate leads everywhere, and they're pure SEO. I know the owner. He's a good friend of mine. We've been locking up deals left and right with them. So what they do is they generate all these leads online. It's SEO, pure Google, no bullshit, no like cold calling and then trying to sell you the lead afterwards crap. And you buy the leads, and I got to tell you right now, man, they're some of the best leads I've seen. Similar to, actually, they're probably better than PPC, but the thing I like about them is you could pick the market you want to be in. The markets, the leads are somewhat expensive, but they're pure SEO leads, and they're motivated, right? They're motivated, and you don't have to do any of this crazy SEO bullshit. You just buy the leads. So we've started using them, and they have been absolutely dominant. Our best marketing channel at this point, behind PPC. So
how much are you guys spending on that right now?
I'm spending about $3,000 a month on those leads right now, on just the SEO leads. So if you take the $3,000, divide it by, I'm probably paying about $185 a lead. But I'm like, I'm looking at it where I'm like, I want to spend more at this point, because it's just the freaking.
Is that kind of like I know you got your pay lead, so it's like a pay lead website. Is it like speed to lead?
Well, sort of, but it's, in my opinion, it's better. And I'll just say that on the record. I've found that those leads are pure SEO leads. I know I speed the lead. There's a lot of Facebook stuff, which can work, but these the property leads, leads are straight SEO. And if you typed in like sell my house fast, whatever city, odds are these guys are going to come up one or two. And then they're getting all these leads from all across the country, and then they're aggregating them and they're selling them off to investors. So that's just a golden nugget for everyone. I mean, we got hundreds and hundreds of people listening now. They're solid leads. And you can combine that with what you're doing on Google, man, you're just going to get better leads compounded over time. But the online leads, I mean, that's really the new way to do business. I mean, people are starting to really understand that these Google ad leads are scalable, and the quality conversations, like you said, are so much better,
So much better. And my wife told me, because, me being in sales again is, she's like, "Oh, you look so much less stressed." When you're calling those
you're so much more relaxed around here now.
100%, man.
Yeah, bro.
It was just so difficult talking.
Mail leads are still strong, bro. We've always knocked it out of the park with mail. I don't know, because they're calling you kind of. I don't know.
Are they going directly to your acquisitions phones, or are they getting filtered through?
They go to a voicemail. They go to voicemail jail on purpose. They get disqualified.
What? Oh, you don't answer live?
We call them back in the matter of like a minute or two. But if they're like, we get a lot of pissed off people with mail. I mean, I got a whole archive of like lunatics calling me that I save in Dropbox. Yep. But we actually drive everyone to. I actually learned this from Todd Toback, who is Tom Kroll's coach.
Yep.
Drive everything to he's a beast, dude. He's in San Diego. You drive everyone to like a voicemail, and then it's like, hey, leave your name, address, etc. That disqualifies a lot of assholes who are never going to sell. And then
Todd does that. Todd does that.
Oh yeah.
Big mail guy.
Yeah, Todd Toback, dude. This is a Todd Toback special. We get them to the voicemail. They qualify, disqualify. I mean, everyone gets called back for the most part, but like we got 2 leads yesterday that I just looked and called real quick, and like they leave their name, the address, and then like we had one guy yesterday. He's like, "I need to sell this thing right away." I go on Slack. I'm like, "Yo, Brett, get this guy real quick." So it kind of just allows you to start the conversation on like kind of like in a proactive scenario versus a reactive scenario. We've just found that it makes us profitable. I mean, I'm certainly, if you answer the phone live, probably will be a little bit better. But we've just found the voicemail has always produced a good, ROAS on our marketing. So we're going to keep it the way it is for now.
Awesome. Where you guys sending? Are you guys sending mail out here in California, all over the place?
We're mailing mostly up in the Northeast and in Delaware now. I've done some mail in California. Was it the beginning of this year? But after a couple campaigns, we hit a good rehab. We made a bunch of money on, and then after that, like just the California mail just started just taking a shit, and I was like,
who are you using for direct mail?
Yellow Letter HQ in San Diego. Yeah. Which is cool because the mail gets it goes out, and then like if we're mailing San Diego, like the next day the phone's ringing because they're literally like, going to the neighbor's house probably and dropping the mail.
We use Modern Postcard, same mailbox from when I first who I told you about Tom Kroll. Okay. He built a relationship with Modern Postcard, got us a good deal at that time, and so we literally because a big old we got a big old plain postcard, white ugly postcard, and so we sent a bunch of those out.
It's funny you say that because everyone always gets all like, "Oh my god, what am I going to send in the mail?" It's like, dude, send like the thing that you probably think is not going to get them to call, and that's probably going to get them to call. Like a normal ugly postcard, "I want to buy your house as is, cash." Like, I always tell people, I make a joke. I'm like, if you get the right list and you market enough, you can send a piece of toilet paper in the mail with "I want to buy your house," and if they're motivated, they'll call it.
100%. Are you calling back direct mail calls that don't leave a message?
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Good. But what we do is like that would be either in call, it would be a missed call or an abandoned call, like depending on how.
Just let the angry people leave a message and just don't call them back.
Well, the removals, my assistant will just remove them because it just get me off your mailing list. Like calling them back is a waste of time. But if it's a missed call, we'll call them back. And some of those people turn into leads, some of them don't. I got this guy yesterday. Oh my God. I can't play the voicemail on the podcast because people will really get concerned, but it was pretty interesting. This guy, I called him back and I was basically like, I can't believe they let people like you have a real estate license. It's embarrassing. He's like, oh. It was an agent calling. But anyway, I digress. But mail can certainly work as well. I've always said mail is like a hybrid. Yeah, it's outbound, but they're really calling you. So it's kind of like a different dynamic than like a cold call out of the blue. Anyway, I digress. I want to cover one more thing on the show. We're getting closer to our hour here. So I see you guys, really know what you're doing in the disposition department. So what does your process look like in order for you guys to sell your wholesale deals for top dollar and not be as Todd Toback as a cash buyer employee? Because if you just do this alone, it will make you a lot of money because you make more money on these deals. Because these buyers, even in today's day and age, are willing to pay a lot of money.
100%. No, and it was good to see us still selling deals. So
yeah,
Alex Bradley, as you know, has been a monster. He's been crushing it.
Yeah.
Taught him a lot on dealing with these buyers, and it's been great to really pass that off to somebody who is able to have these good conversations with buyers. Now, there's the conversations are always, throughout your company, your conversations are going to be completely different, and buyers can be ruthless. They're going to try to push you around. So you need somebody definitely strong and strong-willed in that seat. So again, tell Alex I told you I said that. So what happens is when a contract comes through one from myself or a sales guy, it goes to our fulfillment department. And basically what that is my TC is going to give the seller a call, introduce herself because she's going to be their point of contact. Just kind of, getting everything kind of situated. We're going to pass that off to escrow. Escrow, is going to send an email to the seller. From there, TC is going to go send out a picture company to go take photos. We get those photos back. We upload them to an investor lift. So we do use investor lift cartel mode right now. From there, we do like a quick little sheet on an email. Too many people this is a big gold nugget. People just cloud that sheet up when they email it out. What you want to do is you want to keep things simple, keep things minimalistic, and that's anything in your business. I'm talking about your processes, your systems, your sales process, everything. Always learn how to eliminate things that don't need to be in there. So anyways, it's super simple, and it says taking highest and best. This is a suggested starting price. And you always want to make sure your buyers are doing their own due diligence, because if you decide to give them comps and tell them what you think the property is going to be worth after it, you know what, they're going to look at you and they're going to laugh, because what we found out that buyer A and buyer B are going to go think of totally two different things. One's going to look at, hey, I could add square footage. The other one's going to say, this is a teardown. It's just totally two different people.
Dude,
and
that's such a nugget, bro. You're revealing the goods, man. Never tell the buyers what that property's worth. It's their job, not your job.
To do the due diligence. Absolutely. So what we do is we send out that email blast to thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. We send it to the specific county that it's in, and then all surrounding counties through the investor lift. We have VAs. And so Alex will take the inbound calls. He'll do some cold calling if he's not getting any inbound. He'll take the inbound calls from buyers. People just want to know a little bit more about the property. And then we have VAs that are calling other buyers in that city who have bought properties in the area. And what they do is they tee it up just like a lead manager would on the sales side. They would tee the buyers up saying, hey, we got these properties. And if they want to know a little bit more, they tee it up and give it to Alex. They're not salespeople. They're calling. They're just kind of waking buyers up, getting their attention. And then so they'll team up to Alex. Alex will do his best on trying to lock the deal up, build that relationship. Remember, he's not giving anything. He's just kind of telling them a little bit about the property, telling them to do due diligence. If we need to get a good walkthrough, Alex will reach out to Victoria to reach out to the seller to do a quick walkthrough. Sometimes we hold inspection days where we get all of our buyers through the property at one day in 1 hour to create that feeding frenzy, right? If a buyer A sees buyer B, oh crap.
Baby, get the checkbook out, bro. I did that in Oceanside on a deal last year, and it got 30 grand more than my ask price. It was hilarious. There was like 15 knuckleheads in that property. I'm just sitting there crossing arms with the seller, like laughing as I knew they were bidding the property up. It was too funny.
Exactly. And then once, so let's say we get Alex will kind of have a day, a day and a time when he'll take final offers. He'll tell all buyers that he'll accept an offer. And then boom, he'll send the assignment contract. We want the EMD. We usually ask for about $10,000 EMD. And it's off to the races, dude.
That's it. So does he basically tells the buyers, hey, Tuesday at 3 p.m. all offers are due, and then he'll just at that point he'll have all the offers in front of him and he'll say, okay, this is the highest and best, and then he selects that, and that's it.
Exactly. And then in this market, I mean, you're always changing. You're always going to, and the reason why we're going to have them in office, I know you said you're all virtual, but for us right now, we want to treat next year as wartime. I mean, if you're in real estate and you're listening to this podcast, you know, the market is changing, you know, the market is fierce right now. So we want to make sure that everybody is in office, all hands on deck. We need to make sure information is getting passed quickly. So for example, when Alex is going to hear information that he's getting from buyers, he needs to tell the salesperson on what he's seeing, or and the TC, if the TC had some kind of title issues, we need to tell Dispo immediately and quick and right there on the spot. One of our core values is sense of urgency. We need to make sure, because we use Slack too, and Slack is a fantastic tool, but we see that stuff sometimes gets missed within the conversation threads. And then also, I want to make sure we keep the momentum, the energy high. So even when even when Alex locks up a deal or sends an assignment contract and gets it signed, I want him to ring that bell. I want everybody to know that we just sold a deal, and now the sales guy is going to get paid, right? Because the sales guy can't get paid unless we sell the deal.
Right? 100%, dude. That's amazing. No, that strategy is how you make a lot of money wholesaling. I learned that from Todd Toback, started doing it, and it is uncomfortable in the beginning, right? But I don't really go to the houses either way, so I'm not there. But it's funny how that, like, when you have even 3 buyers in one property and you got one house to sell, it's amazing how, where do I need to be at? Oh my God, what do I need to? It's like, no. Listen, Bob, you're a great guy. We're still good friends. If you were in my shoes, you'd do the same thing. There's 3 of you guys, there's one property. If you were in my shoes, you'd do the same thing. Because what happens is the buyer, come on, man, what the hell? This isn't like it used to be, man. Because, like, I used to just give these deals away for free, practically free. And then the buyers start to get angry at you. And you're like, listen, Bob, I get it, man. I get why you're frustrated. I would be the same way. But if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Every time they go, yeah, you're right. I get it, man. You got a good deal. And then they put an offer in,
There it is.
And then they call you the next week. Hey, you got anything else? It's too funny. People think they're going to ruin a relationship with a buyer because you sold the deal for more money. It's like, no. They're going to come right back the next time you have a deal. They're not going anywhere. Don't worry about it.
One thing we see a lot of people that are afraid, including myself when I first started, was, hey, are the buyers going to get upset with my assignment fee, right? Those 50K, those 100K rippers, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? That's just scarcity. Buyers don't care for the most part. And if you have a conversation with the buyer prior to sending the assignment and the invoice, and usually I say, hey, is this a deal to you? Okay, perfect. Just let you know we are going to be making some money, but just that money goes back to marketing and paying our
team. Get you more deals.
Exactly. It's not like it goes all into my pocket and I'm just off to the races. No, that money gets spread out throughout the team, throughout the business to bring more deals to the table.
100%, dude. It's so funny you say that, because when I deal with a new buyer, I still sit in the dispo seat in our company. And if it's someone I don't know, I say, do you care how much money I'm making? And they're like, no. I'm like, so you're telling me if I make $100,000 on this, you're not going to care. They're like, no. Well, the good news is it's not $100,000. It's only 18. But I anchor the shit out of them. And nice. They, they're always like, yeah, it's not bad. I'm paying a wholesaler $60,000 tomorrow in Spring Valley. And I'm excited for him. I'm like, dude, that's amazing.
There you go.
I'm like, listen, I'm not going to count your money. You don't count my money. Who cares? Dude, I had a deal we did last week in Delaware. I didn't know this. I don't really give a shit. The guy who offered me the most money, we did highest and best, paid $10,000 more than what the ask price was. And that was really like maxing out the price. I look at the HUD the other day and he's wholesaled to someone else. And I'm like, whatever. I don't really give a shit. And he paid $10,000 more than everyone else. So it's like, you know what? Like, just don't count people's money. And the real buyers,
there's so many deals out there.
Yeah, there's so many deals out there, man. Well, anyway, we've covered a lot today, man. You got a great story. You got a great business. I'm glad we got to do this, call and podcast together. So if people want to, number one, follow you online, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, just type in my name, Aaron Gaunt, on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, right? Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. TikTok, check out my podcast as well. We'll have Greg on as well at the Real Estate Block. So
sweet.
Yeah, go
Real
check that out.
Estate Block show. And then if any sellers are listening to this for some reason, was it sellersnewday.com?
Yep, Sellers New Day.
Hey, man, you never know, man. Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, brother.